How are you guys doing? Today is Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the elite matchups and performances that took place in the MLB yesterday on Tuesday, August 31st, and I'm going to preview everything that's going on with sports today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Just for a quick snapshot of where we are in the year, the MLB season is about 3/4 of the way done. The college football season, at least for ranked teams, starts tomorrow. The NFL season starts the next week, and then the NBA season will start next month. As we enter this month of September 2021. And without further ado, starting off in the MLB, the New York Mets hosted the Miami Marlins for a doubleheader. And in this matchup, looking at the first game of this matchup, the Miami Marlins would lead the Mets 5-1 going into the bottom of the ninth until the Mets will come all the way from behind and pick up a very big win, especially at home. They would win this one 6-5. The game-winning play would be a 2-run single from Michael Conforto, which I thought was the best play of the game. The second time he's had a play like this year. Looking out to who performed for the Miami Marlins, the start went to John Curtis. Curtis allowed no earned runs without registering an out. The loss, however, would go to the Marlins closer, Dylan Floro. Floro allowed 1 run without registering an out in the inning, and with this loss, he is now 0-1 on the season. That was his first blown save of the year. For the New York Mets, the start went to Marcus Stroman initially, but after the game would get delayed, Taijuan Walker would get the start. Juris Familia would pick up the win as he allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning, striking out 2. With his win, he's now 1-0. In the Mets batting lineup for Game 1, their center fielder Brandon Nimmo went 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. Additionally, for the New York Mets, looking out to how they fared, their left fielder Dominic Smith went 2 for 4. And then following this, they would go on to beat the Marlins in the second game of this doubleheader 3-1. Looking out to how this matchup fared, the Mets would score all 3 of their runs in the 4th before the Marlins would score their lone run in the next half inning. For the Marlins in the second loss, the start was given to their starting pitcher for the day, Edward Cabrera. Cabrera allowed 3 earned runs in the first 4 innings of the game, striking out 2. With this loss, he's 0-1 on the year. In the Marlins batting lineup in the second game, their left fielder Lewis Brinson would end up going 2 for 3. And then for the New York Mets in Game 2, the start was given to Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams allowed 1 run off of 4 hits in 4.1 innings pitched as he struck out 4. The win was given to the Mets' first relief pitcher, Aaron Loop. Aaron Loop would allow no earned runs in 0.2 innings pitched as he finished out Trevor Williams' 5th inning. With this win, he's 4-0 on the season, and the save went to the Mets' good old reliable closer, Edwin Diaz. He allowed no earned runs in the 7th inning as he struck out 2. That would be his 27th save of the year. With these 2 wins, the New York Mets are now 65-67. That is the 3rd best record in the National League East. They've won their last 3 games, and they've won 4 of their last 10. They currently trail the Atlanta Braves by 5.5 games in the division. And with these 2 losses, the Miami Marlins are now 55-78. That is the worst record in the National League East, and that is the 3rd worst record in the National League. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games, and they now trail the Atlanta Braves by 16 games in the division. Jumping out to our nation's capital, the Nationals hosted the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday. I was actually at that game. The Nats would take an early lead, a 5-2 lead, before the Phillies would turn it around. They would take the lead off of a 2-run single from who else but Bryce Harper, and then the Phillies would go on to win their 68th game of the season. For the Washington Nationals, the loss went to their starting pitcher, Patrick Corbin. Corbin allowed 6 earned runs in the first 5 innings of the game as he struck out 4. With this loss, he's 7-14 on the season. In the Nationals batting lineup, their left fielder, Josh Bell, went 2 for 4 with a run. And then their shortstop for the day, Luis Garcia, would end up going 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. For the Philadelphia Phillies, the start was given to Matt Moore. Matt Moore would allow 5 earned runs in 3.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 2 before getting yanked in the 4th. The win would go to the Phillies' first relief pitcher, Bailey Falter. Bailey Falter would allow no earned runs in 1.2 innings pitched. He would finish the 4th and 5th innings for Philadelphia as he picked up 1 strikeout. With this win, he's now 2-0 on the season. As I said, the 6-run inning for the Phillies would come in the 6th inning. For the Philadelphia Phillies batting lineup, their shortstop Freddie Galvis went 2 for 6 with a run. Their second baseman Gene Segura went 2 for 5 with 3 runs. Their elite right fielder Bryce Harper would end up going 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. Their left fielder, former National League MVP Andrew McCutchen, went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He would hit his 22nd home run of the season. And then additionally for the Philadelphia Phillies, their first baseman Matt Vierling would go 4 for 5 with 2 runs. With this win, the Philadelphia Phillies are 68-64. That is the second best record in the National League East. They've won their last 5 games. That is currently the best winning streak in the National League. They have the second best winning streak to the Tampa Bay Rays at the moment. They've won 6 of their last 10 games, and they trailed the Atlanta Braves by 2.5 games. And then they trailed the Cincinnati Reds / San Diego Padres by 2.5 games for the National Wild Card Playoff. Picture as of right now, the Philadelphia Phillies are the first team on the outside looking in. With this loss, the Washington Nationals are 55-76. That is the 4th best record in the National League East. They've lost their last 4 games. They've lost 8 of their last 10, and they trail the Atlanta Braves by 15 games in the division. Jumping out to Toronto, the Blue Jays hosted their division rivals, the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles would come away with this matchup with a 4-2 win after scoring 3 runs in the 6th to give them the lead. They would take the lead off of a 2-run double from Ramon Urias that would take them from being tied at 1 to giving them the 3-1 lead. For the Toronto Blue Jays in this matchup, the loss went to their elite starting pitcher, Hyunjin Ryu. Ryu allowed 3 earned runs in 5.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 6 before getting pulled in the 6th inning. With this loss, Hyunjin Ryu is 12-8 on the year. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit, but their elite first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run. His hit was his 39th home run of the season. For the Baltimore Orioles, the win went to their starting pitcher Keegan Akin. Akin allowed only 1 earned run off of 2 hits in 5 innings pitched. He would strike out 5 on the day, and with this win, he's 2-8 on the season. The save went to the Orioles closer for the day, Cole Sulser. Cole Sulser would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. With this save, he now has 6 on the year. In the Orioles batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their first baseman, Ryan Mountcastle, went 1 for 4 with a run as he hit his 22nd double of the season. With this win, the Baltimore Orioles are 49-51. That is still the worst record in all of baseball at the moment, as they've only won 31% of their games. They've won 3 of their last 10, and they trailed the Tampa Bay Rays by 42.5 games in the division to give a sense of what the gap is between the best and worst teams in the American League. With this loss, the Toronto Blue Jays are 69-62. That is the 4th best record in the American League East, as they've lost 5 of their last 10 games. They trailed the Tampa Bay Rays by 14.5 games in the division, and currently they trail the Boston Red Sox by 4.5 games for that second American League wildcard spot. The Blue Jays are the 3rd team on the outside looking in, as they also trail the Oakland Athletics and the Seattle Mariners. Jumping out to Detroit, the Detroit Tigers hosted the Oakland Athletics. The Athletics would end up beating the Tigers 9-3 on the road, as they would take the lead in the 3rd inning from the Tigers and run away with this win. For the Detroit Tigers, the loss went to their starting pitcher, Tarek Skubal. He allowed 6 earned runs in the first 5 innings of the game as he struck out 6. With this loss, he's now 8-12 on the season. In the Tigers batting lineup, their center fielder, Derek Hill, went 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 2nd double of the season and his 3rd home run of the year. Additionally, their right fielder, Robbie Grossman, would end up having a game for himself. Robbie Grossman would end up putting together a 2-for-4 outing with an RBI and a run as he hit his 20th home run of the season. For the Oakland Athletics, the start was given to Cole Irvin. Cole Irvin allowed 3 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 2 before getting pulled in the 5th inning. The win was given to the Athletics' first relief pitcher on the day, Deolis Guerra. Deolis Guerra allowed no earned runs in 1.1 inning pitched. He would go on to finish off the 5th and 6th innings for the Oakland Athletics. With this win, he's now 3-1 on the season. In the A's batting lineup, their second baseman, Josh Harrison, went 3-for-5 with 2 RBIs. Their center fielder, Starling Marte, went 2-for-5 as well with 2 RBIs. Their first baseman, Matt Olson, went 2-for-5 with an RBI and 2 runs. And additionally, their elite third baseman, Matt Chapman, went 2-for-5 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He would go on to hit his 22nd and 23rd home runs of the season for the Oakland Athletics this year. And with this win, the A's are now 73-59. That is the second best record in the American League West, as they've won their last 3 games and they've won 4 of their last 10. They sit 5 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros, and at the moment they sit a game behind the Boston Red Sox, who have sole control over that American League wildcard spot. They both have the same amount of losses, but the Red Sox have 2 more wins, so they sit a game ahead of the A's at the moment. The A's are the first team on the outside looking in that respect. And with this loss, the Detroit Tigers are now 62-71. That is currently the 3rd best record in the American League Central, as they've lost their last 4 games and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They trail these division-leading Chicago White Sox by 15 games in the American League Central. Jumping out to Tampa Bay, the team that's holding the best record in the American League, the Tampa Bay Rays, hosted the Boston Red Sox, who are fighting for playoff positioning as well. The Rays were able to beat the Red Sox 8-5. 6 of their runs would come in the 3rd inning after they tied it up in the 2nd with a solo home run from Randy Arozarena. For the Boston Red Sox in this matchup, the loss was given to their starting pitcher for the day, Brad Peacock. Brad Peacock allowed 5 earned runs in 2.1 innings pitched as he struck out no batters. With this loss, he's 0-1 on the season. In the Red Sox batting lineup, their right fielder, Hunter Renfroe, went 2-for-5 with a run. Their left fielder, Kyle Schwarber, went 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Schwarber hit his 28th home run of the season. And then their elite designated hitter, JD Martinez, went 2-for-5 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 35th double of the season yesterday. For the Tampa Bay Rays, the win went to their starting pitcher, Ryan Yarbrough. Yarbrough allowed 2 earned runs off of 5 hits in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 3. In the Rays batting lineup, nobody on the team finished with more than 1 hit. Their elite right fielder, Randy Arozarena, would go 1-for-3 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 18th home run of the season yesterday for Tampa Bay. With this win, the Rays are 84-48. That is the best record in the American League East. They've won their last 9 games, which is the best winning streak in baseball at the moment, and they sit 8 games ahead of the second-place New York Yankees as the Rays hold on to the number 1 seed in the American League playoff picture. Sitting ahead of the 2nd seed, Houston Astros leading the West, and the Rays also sit ahead of the 3rd seed, Chicago White Sox, who are currently in control of the Central Division. With this loss, the Boston Red Sox are now 75-59. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East. They've lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 10 games in the division, and they are the sole holders of the 2nd American League wildcard spot. They sit 2 games behind the New York Yankees, who are holding on to that first spot, and they sit 1 game ahead of the Oakland Athletics, who are at the moment the first team on the outside of the American League wildcard picture looking in. Jumping out to Dallas, the Texas Rangers hosted the Colorado Rockies, and in this interleague matchup, the Rangers would end up beating the Rockies 4-3 at home. For the Rockies in this matchup, the loss went to their starting pitcher, Austin Gomber. He allowed 4 earned runs in 4.1 innings pitched. He would walk 6 and strike out 2 before getting pulled in the 5th inning. In the Rockies batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their first baseman, CJ Cron. He would go 2-for-4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 25th home run of the season. For the Texas Rangers, on the other hand, the win went to their starting pitcher, Jordan Lyles. Jordan Lyles allowed 3 earned runs in 6.2 innings pitched as he struck out 7. With this win, he's 7-11 as a starting pitcher. And in the Rangers bullpen, the save went to their closer, Spencer Patton. Spencer Patton allowed no earned runs in the ninth inning as he struck out a batter. This would be his second save of the year. In the Rangers batting lineup, their first baseman, Nate Lowe, went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. He would hit his 14th home run of the season. And with this win, the Texas Rangers are 47-85. That is the worst record in the American League West and the second worst record in the American League. They've won their last 3 games and they've won 5 of their last 10. At the moment, they trail the Houston Astros by 31 games in the division. With this loss, the Colorado Rockies are 60-72. That is the 4th best record in the National League West as they've lost their last 2 games and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They trail the San Francisco Giants by 24 games in the division at the moment. Jumping out to Kansas City, the Royals hosted the Cleveland Indians, and the Indians were able to get the best of the Royals. They won this game 7-2 as the Royals scored their only 2 runs in the game at the bottom of the ninth. In garbage time, essentially. For the Kansas City Royals, the loss went to their starting pitcher, Jacob Junis. Jacob Junis would go on to allow 3 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 6 before getting pulled in the 5th inning. In the Royals batting lineup, nobody on the team finished with more than 1 hit, and that can be attributed to great pitching from Cleveland as they held the Royals to 5 hits all day. The win for the Indians went to their starting pitcher, Zach Plesac. Plesac allowed no earned runs and only 2 hits in 7 innings pitched, as he struck out 7 batters in that span. With this win, Plesac is 9-4 on the season. In the Indians batting lineup, their center fielder, Miles Straw, went 2 for 5 with 2 runs. Their shortstop, Ahmed Rosario, went 5 for 5 with 5 RBIs and 2 runs. He would go on to hit his 9th and 10th home runs as well as 3 singles, and he would go on to have the best hitting performance of the day. Additionally, their second baseman, Owen Miller, would end up going 2 for 4 as well. With this win, the Cleveland Indians are 65-64. That is the second best record in the American League Central. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. At the moment, they trail the Chicago White Sox by 10 games in the division. With this loss, however, the Kansas City Royals are 59-72. That is the 4th best record in the American League Central as they've lost their last 2 games and they've lost 4 of their last 10. They trail the Chicago White Sox by 17 games in the division. Jumping out to Minneapolis, the Minnesota Twins hosted the Chicago Cubs, and in this interleague matchup, the Cubs would end up getting the better of the Minnesota Twins. They won this one 3-1. The score was tied in the first inning after Jorge Polanco's sacrifice fly tied the game up, but in the next inning, Robinson Chirinos' triple would give the Cubs the lead that they would hold on to till the end. For the Minnesota Twins, however, in this matchup, the loss went to their starting pitcher, John Gant. Gant allowed 2 earned runs off of 3 hits in the first 5 innings of the game, striking out 5. With this loss, Gant is 4-9 on the season. In the Twins batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their second baseman, Luis Arraez. He went 2 for 4 with a run on the day. And then for the Chicago Cubs, the start went to Zach Davies. Davies allowed 1 earned run in 4.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 3 batters before getting pulled in the 5th inning. The win for the Chicago Cubs went to their first relief pitcher, Manuel Rodriguez. Manuel Rodriguez would allow no earned runs in 2 innings pitched. With this win, he's now 3-2 on the year, and the save went to the Cubs closer for the day, Rowan Wick. Rowan Wick would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2. This would be his first save of the year. And in the Cubs batting lineup, nobody on the team finished with more than 1 hit. Their left fielder, Ian Happ, would go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 17th home run of the season. With this win, the Chicago Cubs are 58-75. That is the 4th best record in the National League Central. They've won 4 of their last 10 games, and they trailed the Milwaukee Brewers by 23 games in the division at the moment. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are 58-74. That is the worst record in the American League Central, and that is the 3rd worst record in the American League. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games, and they now trail the Chicago White Sox by 18.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Chicago, speaking of the White Sox hosted the Pittsburgh Pirates in an interleague matchup. And then after the Pirates would tie the game at 2 in the top of the 5th, the White Sox would take the lead in the bottom of the sixth. First off, a Brian Goodwin walk, and then a Leori Garcia sacrifice fly would give the White Sox a 2-run lead that they would carry to the end of the game. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, the loss went to their starting pitcher, Bryce Wilson. He allowed 4 earned runs in the first 5 innings of the game, striking out only 1 batter in that span. With this loss, Bryce Wilson is 2-6. In the Pirates batting lineup, nobody on the team finished with more than 1 hit. That could be attributed to great pitching from Chicago. For the White Sox, the start went to Lucas Giolito. He allowed 2 earned runs in 4.1 innings pitched, striking out 5. The win for the White Sox went to their second relief pitcher, Michael Kopech. Michael Kopech allowed no earned runs in the 6th inning as he struck out 2. With his win, he's 4-2 on the season. The save, however, went to their elite closer, Liam Hendriks. Liam Hendriks would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he was unable to strike out a batter, but with this save, he now has 30 on the year. In the White Sox batting lineup, their elite first baseman, reigning American League Central MVP, Jose Abreu, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs as he hit his 28th home run of the season. With this win, the Chicago White Sox are now 77-56. That is the best record in the American League Central. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. They currently sit 10 games ahead of the second-place Cleveland Indians in the division. And they are also holding on to that 3rd seed in the American League playoff picture, trailing the 1st seed Tampa Bay Rays out east, and they also trail the 2nd seed Houston Astros, who are sitting out west. With this loss, the Pittsburgh Pirates are 48-84. That is the worst record in the National League Central. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games, and they now trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 32.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Anaheim, the Los Angeles Angels hosted the New York Yankees, and the Angels would get the better of the Yankees, beating the Yankees 6-4 as the Yankees are still fighting for playoff positioning. All 6 of the Angels' runs would come in the 4th and 5th inning. They would score 3 off of a 3-run home run from Jared Walsh to give them the 3-1 lead. Then after the Yankees scored 1 and made it 3-2, it would be a 2-run single from Phil Gosselin. And then after Phil Gosselin stole second, Shohei Ohtani would steal home to give the Angels their 6th run. For the New York Yankees in this matchup, the loss went to their starting pitcher, Jameson Taillon. He allowed all 6 of the runs the Yankees would give up in 4.2 innings pitched. He would strike out 6 before getting pulled in the 5th inning, and with this loss, he's 8-5 on the season. In the Yankees batting lineup, their elite second baseman, DJ LeMahieu, went 2 for 5 with a run. Their first baseman, Anthony Rizzo, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs for himself. He hit his 18th home run of the season. Their elite right fielder, Aaron Judge, would go 2 for 3 with an RBI. For the Los Angeles Angels, the start went to Jaime Badia. Badia allowed 2 earned runs in 4.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 2 before getting pulled in the 5th. The win would go to the Angels' first relief pitcher, Jeremy Herget, or Hergé. Herget would allow no earned runs in 1.2 innings pitched as he finished out the 5th and 6th innings for Anaheim, or for the Angels. He would strike out 2 on the day, and with this win, he's 1-1 on the season. The save would end up going to the Angels' closer, Raisel Iglesias. Iglesias would go on to allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2. This would be his 29th save of the season, and in the Angels' batting lineup, their catcher, Max Stassi, would go 2 for 3 with a run on the day. With this win, the Los Angeles Angels are 66-67. That is the 4th best record in the American League West. They've won their last 3 games, and they've won 4 of their last 10. They trail the Houston Astros by 12.5 games in the division. And with this loss, the New York Yankees are 76-56. That is the 2nd best record in the American League East. They've lost their last 4 games following their 13-game win streak, or following their 9-game win streak. I forgot how long their win streak was. But regardless, they've lost 4 of their last 10, and they now sit 8 games behind the 2nd place Tampa Bay Rays in their division, and they are holding on to sole position of the American League wild card first position as they set 2 places ahead, or 2 games ahead of the 2nd place Boston Red Sox in the American League wild card picture. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks faced off against Blake Snell and the San Diego Padres, and the Padres would take home a 3-0 shutout as they held the Arizona Diamondbacks to a collective 3 hits all game. Looking out to how the Arizona Diamondbacks fared in this matchup, the loss would go to, or just looking at how the Arizona Diamondbacks fared in this matchup, the loss went to their elite starting pitcher, Zach Gallen. He allowed 3 earned runs off of 5 hits in the first 6 innings of the game as he struck out 4. With this loss, Zach Gallen is 2-8 on the season. Nobody in the Diamondbacks lineup would finish with more than 1 hit, and that would be attributed to great pitching from San Diego. The win went to the Padres' elite starting pitcher, former American League Cy Young winner, Blake Snell. Snell would allow no earned runs in the first 7 innings of the game, or he would not allow any hits for that matter either. He would walk 2 batters and strike out 10 in that stretch. And with this win, Blake Snell is 7-5 on the season. The save would end up going to the Padres closer, Mark Melancon. He allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out all 3 of the outs that he got were outs. He'd also allow 2 hits in that matchup as well. With this win, or in the Padres batting lineup, their former rookie shortstop Jake Cronenworth went 2 for 5 with a run. Their elite third baseman Manny Machado went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 23rd home run of the season. And their left fielder Jurickson Profar would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the San Diego Padres are 71-62. That is the 3rd best record in the National League as they've won their last 2 games and they've won 4 of their last 10. They trail the San Francisco Giants by 13.5 games in the division, and right now they are tied with the Cincinnati Reds for that 2nd National League wildcard spot. They both sit 13 games behind the LA Dodgers for that first spot, and they both sit 2.5 games ahead of the Philadelphia Phillies and the St. Louis Cardinals, who are right now the first teams outside of the wild card looking in. With this loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 44-90. That is the worst record in the National League West and the worst record in the National League. They've lost their last 5 games and they've lost 7 of their last 10. The Arizona Diamondbacks trail the San Francisco Giants by 41 games in the division, which is the gap between the best and worst team in the National League. Jumping out to San Francisco, speaking of the Giants hosted the National League Central leading Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers would beat the Giants 6-2 as they scored all 6 of their runs in the first 4 innings of the game. The start and the loss for San Francisco went to Johnny Cueto. Johnny Cueto allowed 6 earned runs in 3.2 innings pitched. He struck out only 1 batter of the day. With this loss, he's now 7-7 as a starting pitcher for San Francisco. In the Giants batting lineup, their right fielder Lamont Wade Jr. will go 2 for 4. He was the only player on the team with more than 1 hit. For the Milwaukee Brewers, the win went to their all-star starting pitcher Brandon Woodruff. Brandon Woodruff allowed 1 earned run off of 5 hits in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 8 in the first 6 innings of the game. And with this win, Brandon Woodruff is 9-7 on the season. In the Brewers batting lineup, their shortstop Willy Adames went 2 for 5 with a run. Their elite left fielder Christian Yelich went 2 for 5 with 2 runs. Their catcher Omar Narvaez went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. And then their center fielder Lorenzo Cain went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. Cain hit his 6th home run of the season, and with this win, the Milwaukee Brewers are 81-52. That is the best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 3 games and they've won 7 of their last 10. They sit 10 games ahead of the 2nd place Cincinnati Reds in their division, and the Milwaukee Brewers are holding on to the 2nd seed in the National League playoff picture as they trail the 1st seed San Francisco Giants leading the West, and they sit ahead of the 3rd seed Atlanta Braves, who are leading the National League East at the moment. With this loss, the San Francisco Giants are 84-48 with a mirroring record. With this loss, they still have the best record in the National League West, the National League, and all of baseball for that matter, as they and the Tampa Bay Rays are now tied with the best record in baseball. They've now lost their last 3 games, and they have won, but they've only lost 4 of their last 10. They sit half a game over the defending champs, LA Dodgers, in their division, holding that 2nd spot. And in the playoff picture, they are holding on to that number 1 seed, sitting ahead of the 2nd place Milwaukee Brewers of the Central Division, and sitting ahead of the Atlanta Braves, who are currently leading the East at the moment. Jumping out to Seattle, the Seattle Mariners hosted the Houston Astros, and in this matchup, the Mariners were able to completely shut the Astros out, winning 4-6 as both teams finished with 6 hits on the game. Just looking at how this game finished, for Seattle, this game would eventually end up with them winning off of what would be just the game, they basically won off of one play. The game was scoreless up until the bottom of the 8th inning. It would be a grand slam from Abraham Toro to give the Seattle Mariners what they needed for their win. For the Houston Astros, the start went to Lance McCullers Jr. He allowed no earned runs off of 4 hits and 5 innings pitched as he struck out 3. The loss would go to the Astros' 4th relief pitcher on the day. That was Kendall Graveman. With this loss, he allowed 4 earned runs in .1 inning pitched as he started out the 8th inning. With this loss, Kendall Graveman is 5-1 on the season. In the Astros batting lineup, their shortstop Carlos Correa went 2 for 4. He was the only player on the day with more than 1 hit. For the Seattle Mariners, the start went to their all-star starting pitcher Yusei Kikuchi. Kikuchi allowed no earned runs and only 4 hits in 7 innings pitched. Yusei Kikuchi for the day would go on to strike out 4 batters. The win went to the Mariners' first relief pitcher, Paul Sewald. He allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he struck out 3. He struck out all 3 of the batters he had to get out in the 8th inning, and with this win, he's 9-3. In the Mariners batting lineup, their shortstop J.P. Crawford went 2 for 3 with a run. Their second baseman Abraham Toro went 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs and a run. Like I said, that grand slam was his 10th home run of the season. With this win, the Seattle Mariners are 71-62. That is the 3rd best record in the American League West. They've won 5 of their last 10 games as they sit 7.5 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros of the American League West. They sit 3.5 games behind the Boston Red Sox for that second American League wildcard spot. They are the second team on the outside looking in as they currently trail the Oakland Athletics. And then with this loss, the Houston Astros are now 78-54. That is the best record in the American League West. They've only lost 4 of their last 10 games, and they currently sit 5 games ahead of the second place Oakland Athletics in their division. In the American League playoff picture, they are holding on to that 2nd seed if the playoffs were to start today. They currently trail the number 1 seed Tampa Bay Rays out east, and they sit ahead of the Chicago White Sox holding on to that 3rd seed, who are at the moment controlling the West. Last but not least, jumping to to Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers would end up coming from behind to beat the Braves after the Braves scored the first 2 runs of the game. The Dodgers would tie it in the 7th off of a sac fly from Chris Taylor, but then it would be an RBI double from their elite infielder Corey Seager to move them within a game of the best record in the National League. For the Atlanta Braves in this matchup, the start went to Charlie Morton. Morton allowed 1 earned run off of 3 hits in the first 6 innings of the game as he struck out 8. The loss would go to the Braves closer for the day, Tyler Matzik. Tyler Matzik allowed 1 earned run in 1.1 innings pitched. He finished out the 7th and 8th innings for Atlanta, and with this loss, he's 0-4. In the Braves batting lineup, their 3rd baseman Austin Riley went 2 for 4 with a run. And then for the LA Dodgers, the start went to their elite starting pitcher Walker Buehler. He allowed 2 earned runs and he only allowed 4 hits in the first 7 innings of the game, striking out 5. The win would go to the Dodgers' first relief pitcher Blake Trinan. Blake Trinan allowed no earned runs in the 8th inning as he struck out 3. The save would go to the Dodgers' closer, Kenley Jansen. He allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2. That will be his 30th save of the season. In the Dodgers' batting lineup, their elite right fielder, Mookie Betts, would end up going 1 for 2 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 19th home run of the season. Their all-star 3rd baseman, Justin Turner, would be the only player on the Dodgers with more than 1 hit. He went 2 for 4. With this win, the LA Dodgers are 84-49. That is the 2nd best record in the National League West. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. And at the moment, they trail the San Francisco Giants by half a game in the division at the moment. And they are holding on to control of the first National League wildcard spot, sitting 13 games ahead of the Cincinnati Reds and the San Diego Padres, who are currently tied for that second National League wildcard spot. With this loss, the Atlanta Braves are now 70-61. That is still the best record in the National League East. Out of all the teams that are winning their divisions, the Braves have the worst record of all of them. But regardless, they've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 5 of their last 10. And they still sit 2.5 games ahead of the second place Philadelphia Phillies in their division. and they are holding on to that third seed in the National League playoff picture, sitting behind the San Francisco Giants leading out west and sitting behind the Milwaukee Brewers leading out in the Central. That is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a look at what's going on today, because today is Wednesday. Starting off with a doubleheader at 1:10, the Cincinnati Reds are going to host the St. Louis Cardinals for the first game of this matchup. Wade Miley is going to take the mound for Cincinnati, and Miles Mikolas will take the mound for St. Louis. Wade Miley enters his matchup with an 11-4 record, holding a 2.74 ERA. The second matchup of this doubleheader will take place at 6:40, as Sonny Gray will take the mound for the hosting Cincinnati Reds, and J.A. Happ is going to take the mound for St. Louis. Sonny Gray enters this matchup with a 6-6 record, holding a 3.91 ERA for the Reds. Looking outside of Cincinnati at 2:05, Kohei Arihara and the Texas Rangers are going to host Kyle Freeland and the Colorado Rockies. At 3:40, Luke Weaver and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host the San Diego Padres, fighting for playoff contention as they are led by their elite starting pitcher, Yu Darvish. Darvish enters this matchup with a 7-8 record, holding a 3.8 ERA on the year. At 4:10, Logan Gilbert and the Seattle Mariners are going to host Jake Odorizzi and the Houston Astros. At 7:05 on ESPN+, Paolo Espino and the Washington Nationals are going to host Aaron Nola and the Philadelphia Phillies. At 7:05, Steven Matz and the Toronto Blue Jays are going to host Matt Harvey and the Baltimore Orioles. Steven Matz enters his matchup with a 10-7 record, holding a 3.81 ERA. At the same time, Packy Naughton and the Los Angeles Angels are going to host the New York Yankees, led by their elite starting pitcher, Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole enters his matchup with a 13-6 record, holding a 2.80 ERA. At 7:10, Drew Rasmussen and the Tampa Bay Rays are going to host the Boston Red Sox, led by their elite starting pitcher, Chris Sale. Chris Sale enters his matchup with a 3-0 record, holding a 2.35 ERA. At the same time, at 7:10, Willie Peralta and the Detroit Tigers are going to host James Kaprielian and the Oakland A's. James Kaprielian enters his matchup with a 7-4 record, holding a 3.65 ERA. Willie Peralta enters his matchup with a 3-3 record, holding a 3.63 record on the season. At 8:10, Joe Ryan and the Minnesota Twins are going to host Justin Steele and the Chicago Cubs. At 8:10, Jackson Kowar and the Kansas City Royals are going to host Logan Allen and the Cleveland Indians. At the same time, at 8:10, Carlos Rodon and the Chicago White Sox are going to host Mitch Keller and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Rodon enters his matchup with a 10-5 record, holding a 2.43 ERA. At 9:45, Kevin Gausman and the San Francisco Giants are going to host Brett Anderson and the Milwaukee Brewers. Kevin Gausman enters his matchup with a 12-5 record, holding a 2.49 ERA. So that is what baseball is looking like at the moment. The only other active sport that is taking place today is soccer, as soccer has taken a break from clubs to address the World Cup qualifying matchups. Today, it'll be European nations and African nations that are competing for this qualifying round. I guess first, just looking at Africa, Egypt's going to face off against Angola at 3 o'clock, as Egypt is really the only African team right now that's really good, that's really competing, as they have their elite forward Mo Salah playing for them. Looking at who's competing in Europe for UEFA FIFA World Cup qualifying, at 2:45, Denmark is going to face off against Scotland. France is going to face off against Bosnia and Herzegovina at 2:45. And then also Norway is going to face off against the Netherlands at 2:45. Norway led by their elite striker, Erling Haaland. And of course, the Netherlands have De Jong, Virgil van Dijk coming back. Portugal is going to host the Republic of Ireland at 2:45. Joao Felix, Bruno Fernandes, and Ronaldo taking the field for Portugal. Croatia is going to face off against Russia, as Croatia is featuring Luka Modric, among others. And right now, that is what soccer is looking like as we navigate into today, September 1st, 2021. I want to thank everyone for listening to all 40 minutes of this piece. I want to thank the MLB, ESPN, and FIFA websites for giving me the facts and figures that I needed for this. I, of course, want to apologize for all the names that I butchered in the making of this. I do plan on getting them right eventually. But with that said, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with another episode of this tomorrow once everything is said and done. Thanks for listening, and peace out.